Hey guys, welcome back to the channel McNallie Money, home of all things stock, investment, and personal finance related. Now for today's video, we're going to be providing an update on a small cap penny stock we initially covered a couple of months back on the channel. The company name is GoldMining Inc, and I'm super excited about this company for a number of reasons we're going to go through in today's presentation. Now before we get into it, please take a second, hit the like button, you guys. It's a huge help to myself and the channel. If you're not already subscribed, McNallie Money, feel free to do so. And let me know in the comments section below if you're currently holding shares of GoldMining Inc, what you think about their business model, and how you think they stack up to some of the other players in this space. Now with that being said, let's get into today's video. Okay guys, so that's right. Today's video, we're going to be providing an update on GoldMining Incorporated, trades under the ticker symbol GLDG on the New York Stock Exchange, also here in Canada on the Toronto Stock Exchange under the ticker symbol GOLD or GOLD. You can see this is as of close on March 23rd. They were up 6 cents on the day, or about 3.3% to close out at $1.86 American. And if we actually jump into the charts down here, you guys, you can see on a 6-month view, the company has been on a really nice uptrend since about the middle of December. We actually initially covered this company on the channel January 18th. So that would be this day here at $1.57. So if you were watching that video, you decided to take action, you're already up about 30 cents per share on this position. But honestly, I think there's a ton of upside still remaining in GoldMining Incorporated, and there's a number of catalysts or bullish tailwinds coming up that we're going to talk about in today's presentation. And really a lot of what we have to talk about today has to do or boils down to valuation. So this is really a value play or a value stock in my opinion. They've got about 163 million shares on a fully diluted basis. So by my calculation, I'm getting a market cap in the neighborhood of about $300 million US or about $375 million Canadian. Now keep in mind, a huge portion of that market cap is actually tied up in shares of GROY, which is Gold Royalty Corporation. And that's actually going to be something we reference or talk about a little bit later in today's presentation as well. Now, for those of you who maybe missed our last or initial presentation on GoldMining Incorporated, this company is really focused on acquiring and advancing various different gold projects throughout the Americas. And we're actually going to take a look at the different projects or assets under their portfolio in a couple of slides here. But this, in essence, is what the company is about. And that's really one of the first catalysts that comes to mind for me personally. We're starting to see record high inflation across the world right now, and gold has traditionally been seen as a safe haven asset or a hedge against inflation. So this was immediately what I thought about when we started to see those reports from the Federal Reserve. They're now talking about 3 rate hikes in 2022. So I immediately started to think companies with gold assets or gold exposure are obviously going to bode very well in these types of economic conditions. And that's exactly what we're seeing with GoldMining Incorporated and the recent share price appreciation. Now that being said, this company is still trading at a fraction of what other gold companies are commanding in terms of market cap and share price. We're going to break that down in a couple of seconds here. But realistically, guys, this company has about 32 million ounces of gold. About half of that, or 16 million ounces, is actually measured, and the other 16 million is inferred. So when you start to do the math, they're actually trading at a couple dollars per ounce compared to the industry average of anywhere from $40 to $50. So the math really does start to make sense here, and you're looking at a discount in the range of anywhere from about 90 to 94% on GoldMining Incorporated compared to some of its peers. Now this was our initial coverage of GoldMining Incorporated. I wanted to bring this up just to give you guys a frame of reference. So this is back on January 18th. You can see the share price there. They were down 14 cents on the day. So this was a perfect day to take advantage of this opportunity here or pick up shares of GLDG. They closed out at $1.57. You can see just about 3,000 people checked this video out. It was very well received here, and that was after this major run we had seen over the last month. And again, fast forward to today, we're now seeing shares trade hands at about $1.86, and that's still just a fraction of what analysts actually have in terms of their price target. We're going to take a look at an analyst report from H.C. Wainwright towards the end of today's presentation, which now has a price target on this company in excess of $6 US. So to really kick things off, I wanted to jump over to the investor presentation. Now we talked about some of these numbers in our last video, but it really does boil down to numbers here and pure math, you guys. Again, this is a value play, so you can see here's their total reserve or their total amount of gold in the ground. Just over 16 million ounces measured and another 16.2 million inferred. So combined, you guys, about 32.4 million ounces of gold, which is one of the largest portfolios or largest deposits among any of these junior miners. Not to mention the location of these assets or properties are in very friendly mining jurisdictions across North and South America. Now, I alluded to this earlier, but as an investor or a prospective investor in GoldMining Incorporated, you're actually getting exposure or diversification to GROI as well, which is Gold Royalty Corporation. And you can see that GoldMining Incorporated actually owns 20 million shares of GROI, which is currently trading at $4.10 US. So just that component or piece of this investment alone is worth about $82 million US at today's current share price. So that's another thing to keep in mind here, you guys, when you're talking about market cap on GoldMining Incorporated in the neighborhood of about $300 million US. Just about a third of that is actually in shares of GROI or this royalty corporation. And because of that investment, you're actually getting cash flow of approximately $800,000 per year. You can see that's mentioned here from GROI dividends. So that's a major thing to keep in mind, a major differentiator here for GoldMining Incorporated is you're actually getting that cash flow from this existing investment in the royalty corporation. And with that being said, the rest of today's presentation is really going to talk about that deep value that you're getting with this investment and talking about this bottom box here, which is really the future growth prospects of this company and some of these bullish catalysts that we have coming down the pipe. And speaking of those catalysts, one of the big ones here is actually in relation to 3 of their top properties or top assets. So this is a map showing all of the different GoldMining Incorporated assets throughout North and South America. So you can see Canada, the United States, and then a number of different countries in South America. Now we talked about their gold reserves, but it's also important to note here, you guys, they do have silver and copper on these properties as well. We've talked a lot on this channel recently about the use cases for silver and copper in the electric vehicle market and in things like solar panels or green or renewable energy sources. The other thing I wanted to call out here is they're actually looking to release PEAs, which stands for preliminary economic assessments, for 3 of their top assets in the near future here. And this is going to be one of these major catalysts because this is really going to validate the value of this company's portfolio and bring investor attention and eyes to this investment opportunity. So those 3 assets where we can expect to see these PEAs are going to be at their Yellowknife location, Mina, and their San Jorge location. So super excited to see how that develops. And again, I think that's really going to bring or validate a lot of investor confidence in this company. And the other thing I should note here, we talked about GoldMining Incorporated operating in very mining friendly jurisdictions, but you're also getting a high level of geographic diversification with this investment because you've got properties literally spread all across the Americas here. So you're not isolated to one asset or one jurisdiction, which obviously could present more risk for a potential investment. And speaking of those PEAs, you can actually see that listed under the 4th bullet point here on the slide, talking about GoldMining Incorporated really executing on its strategy to unlock value. Now, a couple of the other points listed on this slide, so GROI or Gold Royalty, crystallizing over $100 million in value. They're modernizing and updating their mineral resource estimates on over 75% of their global resources. They've got a strengthened technical team with decades of experience to advance their portfolio. So we talked about the leadership team at length in our last presentation. The 4th point is those PEAs or preliminary economic assessments. 5th is the creation of U.S. gold mining to advance and unlock the value of their multi-million ounce Whistler project in Alaska. So we're going to double click on that Whistler project towards the end of today's presentation. And then the 6th point here really talks about other project advancements or corporate initiatives that they have planned coming down the pipe. So a ton of reasons to be excited about this company or investment, and this is all internal to GoldMining Incorporated and doesn't take into consideration some of the global or macro tailwinds we're seeing for the the gold industry overall, like the Fed tightening, the rate hikes we're seeing, inflation, the geopolitical risk in Europe right now. So there's a number of other components that are going on external to the company that are really going to help gold prices overall, and in turn companies like GoldMining Incorporated with exposure to this type of resource. And one of those factors is our good friend supply and demand. So you can actually see here, based on this graph, this shows the total gold reserves and resources across the world over the last about 15 years. Here you can see we actually peaked in 2012 at about 967 million ounces, and you can see as of 2020 that was now drawn down to 582 million ounces. Now I should note this is just a reserve of select companies listed here at the bottom, but these are really the biggest players in the gold industry across the world right now, and they really do represent the lion's share or the majority of deposits. So with that being said, we have seen gold reserves decline over the last 10 years or so. And the other thing I wanted to mention in here, 2016, so you can see about 744 million ounces that year in terms of total gold reserves among these companies. That's another year or period when we really saw the US federal government start to tighten up in terms of their financial policies. And that year alone, we saw gold prices jump 30%, but some of the top gold stocks were up in excess of 700%. So it really speaks to the leverage and the torque that some of these small cap or gold related companies can get when we start to see a move in the underlying asset, in this case gold. So that's the other thing I wanted to bring up here, you guys, is not only the fact that shares of GoldMining Incorporated are trading at a severe discount to their peers based on the actual resources or the number of ounces they have in the ground, but you also need to take into account if and when we start to see a move in the price of gold itself, you're going to get that leverage of anywhere from 5, 10, 15, even 30 times what you're seeing in the price or the move in the underlying asset. And that's exactly what we've seen in recent periods of strength with gold. You actually see the share price of GoldMining Incorporated move exponentially. So if we see a 1% move in the price of gold, maybe you're going to see a 5, 10, 15% move in the price or share price of GoldMining Incorporated. Now this is a slide we talked about in detail during our last presentation, but I wanted to throw it in again because it really does paint a great picture for GoldMining Incorporated. So these are some of their assets back in 2010 or 2012 under peak market conditions, you guys. So total, they were valued at about $850 million. Now during the period between 2012 and 2020, the leadership team at GoldMining Incorporated was able to acquire these assets or properties literally at pennies on the dollar. So they acquired this $850 million portfolio, again based on 2010 to 2012 valuations, at a total of $81 million. So under a tenth of the value it was trading at during that 2-year period. And that's really what's created this perfect opportunity for GoldMining Incorporated moving forward, because they acquired this huge portfolio of very rich assets for an extremely attractive or cheap price. So when you start to look at the enterprise value or the market cap of GoldMining Incorporated, you then take into consideration the shares or the investment in GROY or the Gold Royalty Corporation. The remainder or the delta is really where that value is going to be created for the investment community. And that's why I say this is really a deep value type of stock or a value play, because despite this recent move we've seen in the share price, this company is still trading at a significant discount to the historic highs we saw for their portfolio of assets. And with that being said, a great example or case study of this is actually their Whistler asset here in the United States. This is located in Alaska. I mentioned this earlier in the presentation, but this asset, you guys, right now represents about 25% of GoldMining Incorporated's total resources. And if you look at the map here, you can see the Whistler property is located directly adjacent or right next to a property by the name of Estelle. Now what's interesting about Estelle is that property alone holds about a $200 million market cap. And if you look at this in a little bit more detail, Estelle is about half the size of the Whistler property. Or said another way, Whistler is about twice the size of Estelle. And again, this represents only a quarter of GoldMining Incorporated's total resources. So if you think about it, just based on that fact alone, if Estelle commands a $200 million market cap, that represents half the size of the Whistler property or location. You can quickly see how big of a discount or how much value still lies in GoldMining Incorporated. And this is just one example at one location on one of their properties. And really, that's a great segue to this slide here, which is that research or analyst report from H.C. Wainwright that I referenced at the start of the video. You can see this is from November 9th, 2021. They've got a buy rating on the company, and this is where we're seeing that price target of $6.25 US. And if you actually go in and read through this research report, they talk about a lot of the same factors that we just covered in today's presentation. So the assets, the amount of gold that they actually have within their portfolio, the discount this company is trading at compared to its peers, some of the macro or global factors right now influencing the underlying price of gold or the commodity itself, and some of these development opportunities or catalysts like the PEAs that we mentioned earlier in today's video. So for those reasons, you guys, I definitely encourage you to go in and take a look at GoldMining Incorporated. I'll leave a link to the company's website in the video description below. You can go in, do some due diligence on your own. Again, if you're looking for exposure to gold or the gold mining industry overall, I think this is definitely one that should be at the top of your watch list. Again, some of the highlights here, you guys, they've got one of the largest portfolios of gold and gold copper resources of any junior explorer developer in the world. They've got an experienced management and technical team. They're undergoing new mineral resource estimates on the majority, about 3/4 of their gold properties within their portfolio. They've got that major investment in GROY or Gold Royalty Corporation that's generating about $800,000 per year from dividends. They've got a strong balance sheet, which is backed up by a $20 million US facility from BMO or BMO. They're advancing those PEAs or preliminary economic assessments and a number of their properties or assets. They've got some really exciting partnership opportunities, which we covered in our last presentation in relation to some of their assets in the Athabasca Basin. So we've talked about this in recent videos. This is an area that's rich in uranium production. And to really underpin it all, they've got one of the lowest enterprise values per ounce evaluations of any company in the industry. And they're really ready for this re-rating based on some of these new resource assessments and PEAs that they're working to bring to the public. So for those reasons, you guys, I think this company, GoldMining Incorporated, presents a very attractive investment opportunity. I'd be super curious to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. If you're currently holding shares, what you think about GoldMining Incorporated's portfolio and how they stack up to some of the other players or competitors in this space. If you're still watching the video at this point in time, hopefully you found some value. So make sure you hit the like button before you leave. And if you're not currently subscribed to the channel, McNallie Money, feel free to do so. That's all for now. Thanks so much for watching and have a great rest of your day.